translate command. We have a new command from Jesus. So I want to read to you today the text for Maundy, Thursday. It's John 13. We're going to read 13, verses 1 through 17, and then 31 through 35. And before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and to go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it in the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during the supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hand, that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and wipe them with a towel that was tied around him. Then he came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus answered, you do not know now what I'm doing, but later you will understand. Peter said, you will never wash my feet. Jesus answered, unless I will wash you, you have no share with me. Then Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not only my feet, but also my hands and my head. Jesus said to him, one who has bathed does not need to wash except the feet, but is entirely clean. You are clean, though not all of you. For he knew who was about to betray him. For this reason he said, not all of you are clean. And after he had washed the feet, he put on his robe and returned to the table and said to them, do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right. That is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set for you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their masters, nor messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Now moving to verse 31. When he had gone out, Jesus said, now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little while longer. You will look for me. As I have said to the Jews, so I now say to you, where I'm going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. That's the command of Maundy, Thursday. That's the command of Maundy, Thursday. That is the new command that he's given to us. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Okay? That's the mission, y'all. That's the mission, to love one another. He didn't say they'll know you are my disciples by your perfect theology. He didn't say they'll know you're my disciples by your denominational identity. He didn't say they'll know you're my disciples by your worship style. He didn't say they'll know you're my disciples by your degrees or your years of service or any of these things. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Jesus calls us to two very hard things in this text today, y'all. Recently, that was trying to explain the washing of feet, and we don't have I truly don't know what a modern example of washing feet would be. Maybe changing someone's bedpan, perhaps. The work that our CNAs do in the hospitals and nursing homes, maybe. Something like that. Something that seems dehumanizing and something you just don't want to do. Yeah, something like that. And that's what Jesus does for the disciples, and he tells us to do the same thing. This is not some type of surface level service to others. This is not holding the door open for somebody or saying yes, ma'am, or no, sir. This is not even some type of trivial acts of service, but this is a dehumanizing type of service, a debasing type of service to others. This is a losing yourself and your dignity to serve others type of service. And that's hard, y'all. In a world full of prestige and power and what others think of us, this seems awful. That's why Simon says you're not going to do this because and Simon isn't saying this just, Peter's not saying this just as much like, oh no, Jesus, you can't do this. But Peter doesn't want to do this. You know, Peter doesn't want Jesus to wash his feet because that means as the master, that means Peter's going to wash somebody's feet and he doesn't want to do that. That's hard. And then Jesus tells us this new commandment to love one another. By this everyone will know that you're my disciples if you have love for one another. And that's hard. It's hard to love people. But I can't say I'm his disciple. If we read this text, if we're going to take the Bible seriously, if we're going to take it seriously as our authoritative guide, I got to love you no matter what. That's hard, y'all, because we're human. And we get hurt and we get wronged and we hurt others and we wrong others. Our relationships are complicated and fraught. And these hard things, serving others in this humiliating manner, loving others as a sign of our discipleship to Jesus, that they're not things that we can just do. I think as the older I get, the more I come to realize this. This is not, I'm not saying this to shame you or make you feel bad, but I'm saying that you're not good enough to do this. I'm not good enough to do this. This is not about us being good people. This is about us being transformed, allowing the Spirit to enter into our life to where we can be transformed more like Jesus, to where we can love the folks we don't want to love. We can love the folks who disagree with us, who have different politics than us, who have different theology than us. We can love them as a sign of our discipleship. And we can serve people who, in a way that we don't want to do it. Sanctification, Christian growth is not about bowing up and falling in line, but it's about surrender. It's about surrender of the self, surrender of the will to Jesus. It's about surrender. So today we see this new command that Jesus has given us. He's given us our marching orders. He's told us what he wants us to do. He told us how the world will know that we're his. And I don't know that the world, I don't think loving each other is what the world thinks of sometimes they think of us. But he's told us what we're supposed to do. He's given us our command. That's what today is, Maundy, Thursday, this command to love. So let's surrender ourselves to the Holy Spirit. Let's give ourselves space to hear God speak to us. Let's surrender our will to God's. And when we blow it and don't do it perfectly, let's try again tomorrow, and tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, the day after that, the day after that, the day after that, the day after that. And we may be trying the rest of our life to love, y'all. But if we're going to try to do something, let's try to do something good like this. So this is the command that he gave us before he went to the cross. Of all the stuff he wanted us to know, this is it. So let's through his grace be faithful. Tomorrow's Good Friday, so we'll talk about the cross tomorrow. So I hope you can, if you're in the Madison area, we'd love to have you worship with us tomorrow night or tonight for Maundy, Thursday, and tomorrow night for Good Friday. So, and then of course Easter's coming. We're going to go to the dark part.